When reviewing PC titles, it can somewhat be a case of pot luck, especially when it comes to ports. Japanese titles in particular always seem to be a hit or miss on this platform, and we can get subjected to frame rate issues, low resolutions, and general user interface oversights. Unfortunately, in this case, my copy of Hyperdimension Neptunia Rebirth 1 for the PC is an absolute mess. The game rarely manages to launch with constant crashing upon opening. There is no 1080p resolution option, and the frame rate switches between 60 and 30 spontaneously. My attempts at fixing the issue have done little more than delay crashes. This is all on a fairly powerful computer, no less. However, this is not a uniform problem, and whilst I have found many that share my issue, there are far more that are able to play the game without the risk of crashing or bad performance. I have contacted Idea Factory International about these problems that I am experiencing, and the email I received back stated, "We ask that you give our development team some more time in order to address many of these issues that our players are encountering." So with the purchase of Hyperdimension Neptunia Rebirth on Steam, you are taking a risk. The risk of spending $30 and then not even being able to access the title. It's inexcusable and unplayable, which is why I have given it the final score of a 0. Purely due to the risk involved within this PC port. I strongly encourage you to either purchase the original title on its native platforms, the PS Vita and the PS3, or stay up to date with the state of this port and constantly research whether there is a risk or not. That said, here is my review of the title itself, performance issues aside. Welcome one and all to the console wars of game industry in Idea Factory and Compile Hearts' Hyperdimension Neptunia Rebirth. In this title, you play as Neptune, the manifestation of the publisher Sega, as you travel around this fantasy world. Yes, as you may have deduced but not quite believed, this game is all about the console wars between Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft and Sega for some reason. It's a narrative gimmick, sure, but it's played into the whole aesthetic, with shares, game developers and various references to other titles. You fill your party with these characters based on actual developers. For example, Iffy from Idea Factory or Nisa from NIS America. It's this whole world concept that just makes the game fun. Even the antagonist is called R4, after the R4 DS cards that allowed users to pirate games. However, although it is indeed an engaging premise and world, it can be difficult to get involved in this due to the sheer lack of any real character or engaging plot. You're travelling around defeating monsters and meeting new characters, but that's essentially it. You're solving the problems of some people you meet and completing various quests, yet it never puts you in a situation where you feel involved. The storylines going on here are just so painfully basic that it makes you forget the interest brought in by the premise at the start. If you're looking for an intriguing narrative, you've come to the wrong place. We get the same blandness with our cast of characters. Whilst the whole idea of them being based on game studios sounds like a great premise, the execution just lies within the realm of anime cliches. Hit or miss humour, breaststrokes, underwear shots, lackluster character motivations, overabundance of anime archetypes, it's just weak. They are characters who you often don't want to play as or play with, and with voice acting that you need to switch over to a foreign language in order to tolerate it, it makes for narrative sequences that you just want to skip your way through. You do have some solid combat mechanics that really lend themselves to customization though, and you will certainly need to put some thought into it in order to defeat the various bosses you will encounter on your journey. Operating within a radius of the character's initial position, there's a level of strategy that you'll need to understand to fully utilise the skills at your disposal. That interest does quickly die out, however, as it just ends up building upon the same mechanics, and no amount of flashy lights or animation will quell the fact that it does quickly become repetitive and it just ends up feeling slow. In essence, Hyperdimension Neptunia Rebirth is a decent RPG, but the general consensus here is that, whilst it holds a great appeal and premise, the execution just isn't there. The world is great, but the plot is basic. The characters are interesting, but their character is cliched. The combat system is compelling, but eventually becomes repetitive. It's a common theme within this title that just ultimately brings it down. And of course, the PC issues are the nail in the coffin in this case. If you're still interested in playing this for yourself, Hyperdimension Neptunia Rebirth is available on PS Vita along with its sequel.